Good afternoon. And today we have a pleasure of interviewing very talented LIndsay Scola. Good afternoon, LIndsay.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
I am going to introduce LIndsay first. LIndsay is a very talented speaker, writer, producer, and strategist who actually trying to make our world better with a political change. But on top of it, she is also a patient who suffers from sleep disorder. We're going to find out more about the sleep disorder and her journey during the interview. But not only she's being a patient, who have symptoms and she has a journey, she's trying to be active member of a sleep community, is trying to advocate for other people to change environment on the workplace as well as medical system. And we'll find out about details on that as well. And again, thank you very much to our audience. If you're someone who have trouble sleeping, or maybe not trouble sleeping, actually sleep a lot, we'll find out about narcolepsy today, or your partner have similar trouble, please click a like and share button. And if you're a medical professional, I hope this interview will be for you, because a lot of people around us, they suffer from sleep disorders. 20% actually of the population, and 87% of them undiagnosed in a different way. I'm talking about sleep apnea, but not only sleep apnea. This disease can be combined with other sleep disorders. Please use my channel as a networking ground. Only together we'll be able to change the system and give people better, healthier sleep, and I hope happier days, and create the difference. So again, LIndsay, knowing your journey, I actually find out about you from social media. I always emphasize the power of social media. I find out about you on the list, the organization what put together female journalists, and they can spread the message. And then I did my own research, and then we connect. I was really inspired by your work, by your advocacy towards sleep, and in conjunction, what volunteering work you do for Project Sleep. We'll find out about that as well. So please tell us, what was your experience? I know you first time find out, or maybe brought the attention when you keep falling asleep on a flight with your father. When did you realize what those episodes, it's more than just normal tiredness? And how did it impact your daily life?
Well, I spent 19 years thinking that I was just a very sleepy person. I worked in politics, and everyone around me was working 36 hours in a 24-hour day. And so they were extraordinarily tired, as you would be. And so when you keep hearing that everyone around you is tired and you feel tired, you just think you can't keep up. And so I talked to doctors starting when I was 16 about feeling overly sleepy. And it was dismissed as having a busy schedule, having stress at work, using my laptop in bed. And I didn't get diagnosed with narcolepsy until I was 35. So, my days were hard. I had days where I felt like I couldn't get out of bed, but in order to keep my job, I had to. I would take naps in the bathroom at work. I would suffer from really debilitating, what I thought were vivid nightmares, but were actually hallucinations, being awake for large periods during the night, which my doctors told me were stress and why I was tired during the day. And then sometimes I would have these moments where I was taking micro naps at my desk and was actually turning in memos at work that had gibberish written in the middle of them. And so all of these sort of combined to make my day-to-day life super challenging until I got answers. But unfortunately, it took me 19 years to get there.
Yes, that's. But tell me, what it is? Can you describe for my audience what it is life with the narcolepsy? Because some people might not be familiar with the diagnosis. What exactly it is? I have a lot of patients who have narcolepsy and sleep apnea. They have a different combination. But tell us what it is. What is narcolepsy?
So narcolepsy is a disorder of the sleep-wake cycle. So basically my brain can be confused about when it's supposed to be awake and when it's supposed to be asleep. So there are 5 symptoms of narcolepsy, starting with excessive daytime sleepiness, which can feel anything like having a bowling ball behind my eyes, to having these moments where sleep is so heavy that I feel like if I don't go to sleep right now, I'm going to die. And that sort of ebbs and flows throughout the day. And some days are better than other days. Of course, it's much better now that I know and I'm on medication. But it also is hallucinations when you're either falling asleep or waking up. These can be visual, audio, or something that you can feel, or all 3 of those combined. It includes sleep paralysis, which anybody can have at any point, but people with narcolepsy have more often. And that's when you feel like you're in a dream and you can't move and you can't communicate. And then there is fractured sleep, when you can fall asleep just fine, but you can't stay asleep and you don't get any deep sleep. So your sleep is actually not very restorative. And then for some people with narcolepsy, there's cataplexy, which is when you have a strong emotion and you lose muscle tone of some kind. So for some people, this can be completely falling over like a marionette doll. Or for someone like me, it's very subtle and it's only in my face. And so I could feel like just my lip is drooping a little bit when I have a strong emotion, and no one can see it, but I can absolutely feel it. And that has a broad range on that. But then again, only some people with narcolepsy have that symptom.
Yeah, that's a fascinating disease. But can you tell us about diagnosis? How exactly you would diagnose?
So narcolepsy ebbs and flows. So sometimes it feels worse than it does at other times. And I went through a period when I was 35 where it felt absolutely debilitating. I couldn't stay awake. I was constantly napping at work. If I didn't have to get out of bed, I didn't. And I was at my doctor at my wit's end and knew that there was something super wrong with how I was sleeping because I was so tired during the day. She sent me for a sleep apnea test, which came back negative, and I was told that I was fine. I was absolutely apoplectic because something had to be wrong with me. Unfortunately, at the moment, sleep apnea was the only disorder I had ever heard of. So I was insisting that I had sleep apnea. I found out that the at-home sleep apnea tests were created by the VA as a low-cost alternative for overweight middle-aged men, which I was not. So therefore, I must still have sleep apnea. And I had an absolute meltdown on the floor of my general practitioner's office. And at this point, she looked at me and said, "We are now beyond both of our education on sleep, and I'm going to send you to a sleep practitioner." Who knew that there was something else going on with me, and who finally sent me for the right testing to get diagnosed with narcolepsy.
And what was the test?
So it's a 24-hour sleep study. So you take an overnight sleep study in a sleep center versus the at-home test, where it's the same thing they're looking at for sleep apnea, how you're breathing, if you're staying asleep, what's happening during your sleep. And then they wake you up early in the morning, and then every 2 hours ask you to take a 30-minute nap. For most people, they cannot fall asleep when the lights go off. For people with narcolepsy, this is incredibly easy. So they're looking at if you fall asleep, how fast you fall asleep, and if you go into REM sleep, because people with narcolepsy go into REM sleep extraordinarily quickly. I fell asleep very quickly in all of my naps and went into REM sleep. So I was a good student, but not as good as I was at my narcolepsy test. I definitely aced that one.
Wow. But tell me, when you get into your REM sleep, you start seeing dreams right away?
Yes. I'm a very vivid dreamer. And so, yeah, I can definitely dream during a nap, but, I don't always remember it or log it. But yes, I definitely am dreaming often and early and incredibly vividly.
I have a question for you as a being journalist. You know what narcolepsy very often portrayed inaccurately in popular media. How would you describe reality living with narcolepsy, and what misconceptions you see what was portrayed, like what's reality versus what sometimes you see what people say in the media?
Well, so I'm really focused on entertainment. And, for me, when I got diagnosed with narcolepsy, I looked at my doctor and said, "I don't think you're right. I've never fallen asleep into a bowl of soup." Because for me, it was that movie, Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo, where the woman falls asleep into a bowl of soup. And I had that image in my brain of that's what somebody with narcolepsy looks like. And it turns out that most people with narcolepsy have never just fallen asleep without being cognizant of it. That, you know, this sleepiness is something I get a warning. I know that it's coming on. And so the portrayals that we have are very much a joke. So it doesn't feel like something that's serious. It feels old timey. It feels like something that doesn't happen to people. But it also keeps people from, like me, from actually getting closer to that diagnosis, because that's what we think narcolepsy looks like. And so what I'm really trying to do is make sure that we have a much broader perspective of what sleep disorders look like, so that we can be better advocates for ourselves when we know something's not right. I know we'll talk more about this, but most general practitioners have very little education about sleep, so they're not recognizing it. So we have to sort of step up more as our own advocates on this. But if we don't know what to look for, if we don't know what to Google, if we don't know what we're searching for, it's very hard to be our own advocate. And then nobody's sort of able to talk about what these symptoms are in a way where people get diagnosis and people get answers.
Yeah, that's very nice. That's why we're gonna put the links to your articles under the interview, and people, you know, can go on your website and reach out to you and actually listen to the podcast. So you put a lot of information out there for people to get educated. Thank you for that. But I would like to ask you your own experience. You work in a high pressure environment, from political campaign to entertainment industry. I want to know how narcolepsy impact your career and professional life. What specific challenges you face? Like, I really like that picture of somebody falling asleep on a red carpet. Like, I think it's like Oscar, and somebody just can't face it. But what do you think, based on what you got through, what specific rule should be, you know, for people with that disability? How employers have to change the idea?
Well, I mean, I think it comes from more information out there. You know, I am someone who is very much an open book. I've always talked about everything that was going on in my life. I got diagnosed with celiac disease when I was 27 and was very happy to talk to everybody about what that meant. But eating different food from other people didn't make me feel weak. When I got diagnosed with narcolepsy, I felt like people were going to judge me. I felt like this was going to hamper my career if people knew that I wasn't going to be able to cut it, that I wasn't going to be able to answer emails at 3:00 in the morning. That has absolutely not been the case. I have had people be incredibly kind and accommodating to make things work in a way that works better for me and my sleep, to still have a very productive career. And so I think it's perception first, but employers have to make reasonable accommodations for you. So if that means shifting your work schedule to something that works better around your sleep, they have to do that by law. And so for some people that means starting a little bit later. For some people, it might mean having an accommodation where you can take a 20-minute nap if you need that during the day. That's something that I've had while I've been in offices. So it's about communication and it's about perception. So as long as we're all talking about this, we understand that someone having narcolepsy doesn't actually mean that they'll be worse at their job. They might need some time things shifted, and that employers understand what reasonable accommodations are and how they can do that. We'll all have a more productive society because all of us can actually be doing more to help our sleep, regardless of our sleep disorders.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. But I know you did a lot of things with Project Sleep. Tell us about Project Sleep and its mission, and how organization working to raise awareness and about sleep health and support for individuals with the sleep disorders.
So yeah, Project Sleep makes sleep cool. For those of us who were very aware in the 90s, I felt like it was this message that everybody to be highly successful only needed 4 hours of sleep. Bill Clinton only slept 4 hours a night. Bill Gates only slept 4 hours a night. So maybe it was only dudes named Bill. But there was this idea that if you were going to be a highly successful person, you didn't need to sleep. So Project Sleep is this concept of like, let's actually talk about the importance of sleep. Oh, and by the way, if you're doing everything you can to make your sleep work better and you're still having an issue, you could have a sleep disorder, and this is how we get you help. And so Project Sleep drives awareness around sleep disorders, what they are, how you treat them, how you get help, how you get to a sleep professional to help you get a diagnosis and help you manage that. I was very lucky to be able to go through the Project Sleep Rising Voices program, which helped me learn how to share my story around narcolepsy, so that I can help make sure the next person doesn't go 19 years without having their own answers.
That's wonderful. That's why, we really admire your work. I would like to ask you, what, in your view, actually healthy sleep? And what misconceptions about sleep you find prevalent, and how individuals can foster better sleep habits?
Well, first of all, I think we have this idea that there's one way to sleep, which is absolutely false. Even people with no sign of a sleep disorder can sleep in a completely different way than somebody else with no sign of a sleep disorder. So we have this idea that there's that sleep hygiene checklist, and you have to do all of those things on that checklist and you'll have a perfect night's sleep. But the truth is that there are different chronotypes with sleep. Some people sleep better going to bed earlier at night. Some people sleep better going to bed later at night. Some people need to nap, some people don't. And so it's really this idea that you need to sleep for what's best for your body. We always talk about getting 8 hours of sleep. Well, it turns out that that's only the top of a bell curve. Some people need less than that. Some people need more than that. And so we've entered this place in our society where we're just trained to the idea that we're failing at something. So if everyone can step back from that and start thinking about their sleep as what works best for them, and when you've tried all the things that don't work for you and you still are having an issue, knowing that you could potentially have a sleep disorder and that there's help for that. 1 in 5 people have a sleep disorder. There are 80 sleep disorders, and there's potentially answers out there if you feel like something is wrong, because you have the best gut. Your instincts about your body are always going to be spot on. That if you think something is wrong, there's a chance that it is.
No, that's wonderful. I would like to ask you, you highlighted in a lot of, your articles, what there is lack of sleep education among general practitioners. They're very busy. How do you think medical education should be improved to better recognize and diagnose sleep disorders? What steps you think should be taken?
Well, I think it's looking at what the actual symptoms of sleep disorders are. One of the issues is that a lot of us were diagnosed with anxiety and depression, which can be a symptom of a sleep disorder. And so we get our symptoms treated before actually looking at the whole picture on this. And anxiety and depression were issues of mine for years and years and years. And it turns out that when I'm medicated and treated for narcolepsy, that I have a lot less of those issues. And so it's really people understanding what that full picture is. Because as I talked about, narcolepsy has these 5 very distinct symptoms. They don't show up at the same time. I don't know that they're all connected. And so I'm not talking to my doctor with, oh, I'm having hallucinations. I'm awake for 3 hours a night. I feel super tired during the day. And my bottom lip droops when I feel an emotion. I don't know how to talk about it that way. I don't know they're connected. So doctors aren't looking for that when they hear stuff about the anxiety or they hear another piece of it. So it's if we can get people educated on that whole concept around sleep disorders, so that doctors are learning to ask the right questions so that patients can give them that information.
Oh, thank you. That's such a great answer. I would like to ask you, you work in a high pressure environment and, fatigue, very fatigue as a badge of honor, everybody tired. How can we shift social perspective about fatigue and promote more understanding of sleep disorders? Like fatigue can be different.
Yes, absolutely. And, fatigue can be caused by having a busy work week. And so it's really stepping back and thinking, am I tired today because I worked too many hours this week? Or do I always feel this way? Because the truth is that most of us with a sleep disorder thought we were really good sleepers. If you had asked me about my sleep, I could tell you that I can fall asleep whenever I want to, and I can sleep for a long time. But it's really not about how you sleep, it's how you feel during the day. And so getting people clear on that. And if you are constantly feeling sleepy during the day, that could be a sign of something else.
Thank you. And my last question, what message would you give to individuals who may be struggling with undiagnosed sleep disorders, and what step they take to seek help and support? I would say, you know, in the medical field and, you know, in the employer field.
Well, I think it's being your best advocate. I was told for years and years and years that nothing was wrong when it came to my sleep. I had sleep apnea tests that told me that nothing was wrong. You know, and I wasn't seeing the results of that, but my doctor is getting something that says that nothing is wrong. And I was blamed on stress or something else, but I knew that something wasn't right. And I didn't push back hard enough because I didn't know that I could. And so that's what I want to impart to people, that if you feel like something isn't right, ask your doctor for a recommendation to a sleep specialist, because there is a field of people that can help you in this, that have information that your doctor doesn't. And if your doctor won't give you the recommendation to go to a sleep doctor, go to a different doctor, and that's okay. Because there's a lot of things that it could be. Just because one sleep disorder wasn't enough for me. I also have upper airways resistance syndrome, which is I have some sleep apneas a night, but not classified as sleep apnea. And so I have a medical appliance that I wear that pulls my bottom jaw forward, and there's enough room for my tongue when I sleep. So my snoring has gone away. I don't wake up gasping for air in my sleep. And if you're doing those two things, know that that's not normal. Snoring is not normal. Snoring is not a joke. So if you're snoring, if your partner's snoring, know that there are ways that you can fix that. And it's not just because you want to get a better night's sleep and your husband is snoring too much. It means that you're not getting enough air, and that you should see a sleep professional about that, and probably a sleep dentist.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. It was such wonderful to spend time with you. We really appreciate it. And I recommend my audience to take a look and read your articles, to get on your website and get educated. Thank you.
Thank you so much.